I'll start just by saying when I got here and when Senator Paul got here in 2011, we were $14.8 trillion in debt. We were spending about $3.6 trillion a year. Revenue is about $2.3 trillion. That obviously shows a $1.3 trillion deficit. Right now, today, currently, we're about $31.5 trillion in debt. We've doubled that over the course. Now, I don't think we're to blame, but it happened while we were here, and we didn't like it at all. The day after the November election, I wrote a column, the Wall Street Journal published it, and what it was is just trying to lay out, if we got the majority here, how we could return function and fiscal sanity to Congress. Now, obviously, we didn't get the majority, so we're not in charge of this, but the House does have a Republican majority, and I was very pleased to see in the whole speaker battle there, and I know it looked a little messy, but I think they accomplished some very good things, because I think hopefully what they did get Speaker McCarthy to agree to is restoring function. And what do I mean by that? We're talking about passing a budget, hopefully one that is as conservative as possible, close to balance as possible. If we can't balance it, well, we're going to have to increase the debt ceiling. But if we do that, we need to use the debt ceiling for the way it was intended to be used. You attach to it fiscal controls. I laid out 4 possibilities. These are just suggestions. Preventing Government Shutdown Act, the REINS Act, the Full Faith and Credit Act, and one that's near and dear to my heart, one of the first pieces of legislation I introduced, reducing the size of the federal government through Attrition Act. You don't have to fire anybody, just quit hiring them, okay? But anyway, that kind of laid that, and then also just but then bring up, use that budget process to bring up individual appropriation bills. Now, why is that important? First of all, you understand the dysfunction in passing these massive omnibus spending bills 2, 3, 4 months into a fiscal year, thousands of pages, nobody reads them, and it just gets passed. Individual appropriation bills, they'll still be massive, but we'll be able to focus on the particular department. We'll be able to do greater oversight. Because part of the problem we have is we just never look at the numbers. And I've got the chart over here. I thought it was interesting when we were going through that debate prior to the omnibus vote. I was asking reporters, I was asking my colleagues, do you know how much we spent last year in the federal government? And quite honestly, nobody knew. But it wasn't their fault. Nobody knew because we never even talked about it. And I think when I told people $6.3 trillion, a lot of people were shocked. I think most people were shocked. And they should be shocked. Because if you take a look in 2019, prior to the pandemic, we spent $4.4 trillion. That was in all federal government spending was $4.4 trillion. Had the pandemic not occurred, had we not busted the budget with, unfortunately, an awful lot of wasteful spending reacting to it, and just grown that $4.4 trillion by the rate of inflation and population, last year we would have spent $5.1 trillion. Why do I point that out? Because we're so tantalizing, or we would have been so tantalizingly close to balancing the budget because last year we got $4.9 trillion worth of revenue. So we need to understand these numbers. We as a Congress need to be looking at these accounts, at these departments. We need to fully understand how the federal government is spending the taxpayers' hard-earned money, and we're not doing it right now. So I think there are a number of us that are talking to our House colleagues, meeting with them. I think the main purpose of this press conference, from my standpoint, is to offer support. They're in the driver's seat. They can pass these bills. They can make this happen. Now, what happens to what they pass in the Senate? Well, that's the next step. But initially, we want to convey to our House colleagues that we respect what they've done. They've got a big task ahead of them. We want to do everything we can to support their efforts, but also encourage them, because the crucial aspect to what they need to do is they have to pass these things with Republican votes. Now, there's a number of us who have never voted for an increase in the debt ceiling. I would vote for an increase in the debt ceiling if we attached to it certain fiscal controls. And we as senators who have taken that position in the past, we need to, again, provide that support for our colleagues in the House, fiscal conservatives, that also will take votes they've never taken in the past. But if we want to have the best result, they're going to have to take those types of votes this year. So again, we're trying to be supportive here. We'll be talking, we'll be meeting with them.